Today is Hewie Rattray, of course, the CEO of the London Bitcoin company. Hewie, how are you doing? It's been a couple of months, I think, maybe not that long, but it's been a little while since we've spoken. How are things?
Yeah, I'm good, Mark, and things are well. I think sentiment's now picking up in the industry, so we're starting to feel like we're getting busy again in the way that we're communicating with other people and investors and things like that. So yeah,
good.
Things are looking up.
Good. Well, that's good to hear. Of course, we are now into September. Of course, the general or the every year August lull is behind us now, where practically nothing happens in the stock market. But I mean, what have you been doing? Have you made any significant decisions? Have you been waiting on any decisions? What have you been up to since we last spoke?
Yeah, so it's been a kind of period, a very quiet period for us in terms of news flow. So I think there's been a number of reasons for that, which I can't openly touch on in an interview. But I kind of spent the past month and a half, really focusing on some of the more kind of grindy operational aspects of the business. Developing our investor deck. We cut back on some expenses and, cut back on the burn a bit. And I think just preparing ourselves, for what we forecast is going to be a big autumn rally in Bitcoin, making sure we're positioned appropriately, making sure, I'm always a big believer that, if you want to operate a business successfully, you have to have backup plans for backup plans for backup plans. So making sure we're not heavily reliant on one particular thing we're working on and making sure we have a couple of other options, in the bank in case we need to go to them. So yeah, it's been a busy time for me, but just not publicly busy, in the way that shareholders can see what we're doing.
Okay. Well, you say you've been sort of working on things that you perhaps can't announce yet. Obviously, you can't say what that is, but I mean, I don't know if there's anything we can say on that. I don't know, any hints, or is it significant? Is it just something nice to have, or?
So I think, the kind of realization post the kind of June boom in treasuries is, how do we want to operate as an industry? The wider Bitcoin treasury industry or crypto treasury industry, how realistic is it for us all to have this kind of ladder mentality where we raise 1 million and then raise 3 million and then raise 6 million and then raise 10 million. And we have this beautiful kind of hockey stick growth chart that everyone's happy with and everyone's making a ton of money. And, you wonder for companies that are there in the initial, embryonic stages of an industry coming up, or the nascent stages of the industry coming up, they obviously get that attention and that volume and that liquidity, which allows them to do that. But I think as the industry gets more crowded, getting finance or small financings, is more and more difficult. And then scaling up those financings and having your share price going the right way becomes more difficult. So you have other options, right? You can build up a stack of Bitcoin, and then you can aim to leverage that stack and see if you can effectively gain bigger exposure to the market, without the outlay that you would have to do by consistent equity dilution. You could focus your energy on building operational businesses and perhaps utilizing to some extent some of your stack, maybe just to get some debt, or maybe, to outlay that to generate, Bitcoin revenue from Bitcoin related businesses. Or you can go for a huge investment syndicate, try and court one of these big kind of 9-figure rounds in and scale yourself up to a reasonable size where you become a very nice tracker or a very nice outperforming tracker to Bitcoin on the stock exchange. And then you really set your sights on getting those passive inflows. So I think, as I said, I've kind of been working on all these different things over the summer and, trying to close different aspects of what I just said. And August is, like you say, notoriously difficult to do business because half the people are on holiday, and then you get into December and everyone's a bit slow to start off again. So I'm really hoping that we'll have something for our shareholders, in the very near future, without tying myself to a specific date or time or deadline. Okay. But the kind of movement of things is a lot quicker now than it was, say, 2 weeks.
Good. Well, that's good to hear. And of course, you have got that, I guess, that USP, if you like, of being main board listed. There's no other crypto treasury, or Bitcoin, I should say, treasury company on the London Stock Exchange. And we've heard of other companies who are actually downgrading, if you like, from AIM to Aquis because of the regulations. So you've got that in your toolbox, haven't you?
Yeah. And, I guess our main competitor now, just to be open and honest, is Satsuma. And, they obviously have announced that amazing raise with some great names. They're yet to get approved for the raise. So I wouldn't see them as a direct competition for us just yet. And once that prospectus gets approved, if it gets approved, then we start to looking at a kind of 2-horse race on the LSE in terms of who can scale themselves and who can attract, who can get themselves to a point to attract those passive inflows and big institutional money that wants to get exposure to the asset class. But yeah, I mean, I definitely congratulate those guys. I texted them after they closed the raise and I said, well done on this, guys. And, I wish them all the best in getting the prospectus done.
Good. Okay, good. You mentioned at the start about industry sentiment, perhaps the sentiment returning to the industry. What are you seeing?
So I was in Hong Kong the week before last, and it was, the Bitcoin Asia conference, but it was full with a lot of Western Bitcoin treasury companies who went out there to talk to the Asian crowd. And there's definitely, I think there needs to be, and I don't want to preach because I'm, in no place to kind of be a thought leader in the space yet, but I would say that people need to develop a bit more imagination about what we're going to do as a group and individually as companies over the course of the next 12 to 24 months. I don't think what's worked in the previous 12 months is going to work in the next 12 months or the next 24 months. I think people need to focus on generating revenue within their, underneath their treasury business and actually having a sustainable business model there, which isn't just buying Bitcoin every week and raising money every week and taking on debt and issuing preferreds. I think Saylor actually echoes those statements when he speaks. He says the most important thing with a treasury company is to have a viable business model alongside the treasury strategy.
Okay. And what about the long-term plan then, Hewie? Apart from things you're working on in the background, which hopefully come to fruition in the near term, the long-term plan for the London Bitcoin Company?
Yeah, so the long-term plan, is always been the same thing. The opportunity with us, which I think is still incredible, and there's no reason why it's changed over the past few months, is to be this excellent Bitcoin exposure on the London Stock Exchange, a generalist Bitcoin company with a big operational treasury strategy and more operational revenue generating businesses underneath it. And I want us to be, if I look at where I want us to be in 1 or 2 years, I want us to be a real strong voice for Bitcoin in the UK, a real strong voice for Bitcoin on the London Stock Exchange. And yeah, I want to bring the industry forward in this geographic area. Like, I'm really tired of, the sentiment around London and the sentiment around Europe being like we're getting behind in technology. Like, I take that personally, and I think that's up to us, people like me, people like you, people who are in the industry, to improve what we're doing over here. At the end of the day, the customers and the operators are the people that need to drive industry forward in specific geographic locations. The Americans are so good at it because they have such an entrepreneurial population. And I think we need to do the same thing. And I think, where I want to take London Bitcoin Company is to be a real educational voice and a real notable voice in the Bitcoin space in Europe and the UK.
Excellent. Okay, well, thank you very much, Hewie Rattray, the CEO of the London Bitcoin Company. Hopefully we can be speaking again in the not too distant future.
Thank you, Mark.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.